we are continuing with where we left off last week with 5 keys to goal setting. We are continuing with that. It is a continuation of the power of personal achievement by Brian Tracy. So a quick recap of what we saw last time. We saw that there have been 2 studies, one by the Yale and another by the Harvard, quite some many decades back. They looked at people, people who are graduating from their MBA programs. How many of them had goals? How many had written goals? How many had mental goals? So what they found is that around 84 to 85% had no goals at all. 15%, not 15%, actually 13% had mental goals, and only 3% had written goals. And the finding was that this 3% with written goals, what they did was they revisited them after a period of like 10 or 20 years. In different cases, it was different. And what they found quite consistently was that this 3% who had written goals, their earnings far exceeded those who had no goals at all. It was like a 10 times difference. So, in other words, setting goals and writing them down increases the chances of success by more than 10 times. This is one observation we had. So, the question we asked is, do you have the clarity? The clarity with respect to your goals, with your plans, with your priorities, and with the problems and obstacles that you have. Do you have that clarity? Because the magic that happens between the head and the hands, just the process of when we write down these things, there is a different clarity that emerges simply because of the process of writing down. So make it a point to write down your goals, write down your plans, whatever planning, whatever you're doing, make it a point to write it down. And we then looked at some of the basic steps. First is understanding what is a goal. Second is properly set goals and write them down. We've discussed it earlier. Also, we had discussed it in multiple sessions. The key aspect is this, that when we set goals and when we write them down, there are various laws of the universe which align themselves, and in unimaginable ways, we will find that there is support available from multiple quarters. Then, next thing is that the ability to set goals and plans and making plans for goals accomplishment is a master skill for success. That means this is all successful people do this. So if you truly want to be successful, set goals and make plans for your goal accomplishment. And the point is that those who do not have goals are doomed to work for the people who have goals. This is an unfortunate reality. Okay, the next is that setting goals triggers a cybernetic mechanism in the brain so that the brain starts seeking out those goals. Now, the interesting thing is this, it is like a missile that is locked on and is homing in on a target. It's not good enough to just lock it on. You have to lock it on and fire it, right? So once that happens, you may still not even know how to achieve it, where that goal is lying in this whole big wide world. But the mind has an unbelievable mechanism to find it for you. That's the power of setting the goals and starting action. So what we are saying is be clear about your goal and take the first step. Just get going, right? The other part is, which is something like a something we have to be careful about, is that we have an inbuilt failure mechanism, exactly like the way we have a success mechanism. So this failure mechanism is activated by 3 things: the tendency for us to stay in our comfort zone. We just want to be where we are. Learned helplessness. We have continuously, we keep reiterating and we keep believing that we are helpless. What can I do? Not my fault, etc., etc. And we tend to take the path of least resistance. If we can go beyond this, there is a huge possibility that lies ahead for us. Now, why do people not set goals? They do not realize the importance of setting the goals itself, or they do not know how to set the goals. Third, very important thing, today also we are going to discuss it, fear of rejection and criticism. And then, of course, there is this fear of failure. Oh my God, if I fail, what will happen? What will people say? And therefore, we don't even start. Now, with this background, we are taking the next step, which is we are going to specifically look at 5 keys to goal setting. Number 1, the fear of change is a major source of fear and stress. See, we are this change thing, no, we are not concerned about positive changes. For example, now suppose I tell you that with Indus Viva possibility, we are going to get 2.5 lakhs a week. That is a very welcome change that we would want. What we are concerned about is the negative changes, what we do not want. So you will welcome a change when I say that the income of 2.5 lakhs per week is possible. But What we are trying to avoid is negative changes happening, and that resistance to that negative change is there. Second, we are concerned about uncontrolled change. See, you imagine yourself, those of you who drive a car or who have seen cars being driven, of course, all of us have seen it, you will recognize what I'm saying. If you are at the driver's wheel or the steering wheel, okay, and you are fully in control of the steering of what is happening, it does not matter if you are flying at, let's say, even 150 kilometers per hour. It does not matter because you feel fully in control. The moment you suddenly find that you are trying to do something, but the car is refusing to do what you are giving instructions to it, even if you are at 10 kilometers per hour, you will feel it is completely out of control. So what we are concerned about is uncontrolled change. And these are changes that come from outside, about which we don't have control. What can we do about it? The point is that the way to address this fear of change is by setting goals, because setting goals allows you to control the direction of your change, because you will consciously start taking steps in the direction in which you want to go. Okay, right. The second thing is area of excellence. Each of us, and I want you to note this very carefully, each of us have the ability to be excellent in one or more areas of our life. We have that ability. Okay. And our greatest responsibility in our life towards ourselves is towards ourselves. What is it? To find that area of excellence, your area of excellence, and put your whole heart into becoming excellent in that area. The unfortunate part is that most of us do not focus on this. We just keep drifting along. That is the sad part. Now you put your whole heart and look at how to become excellent in whichever is your area of excellence, irrespective of whatever time it may take. Remember that for any to become like a world-class person, again, this is something you've seen in one of the earlier sessions. To become a world-class person in any specific area, whatever you may choose, it will take about 5 to 7 years of systematic learning and doing. That is the time that we have to be willing to commit. And so I am inviting you to commit yourself to excellence. Whatever you are doing, whatever you are taking up, commit yourself that you will do it in the best possible way. Otherwise, what will happen is that the default situation is a mediocre life, a very average kind of life. That is what it will slip back to. If you do not commit yourself to excellence, we will slip back into a life of mediocrity. And that life of mediocrity, in turn, it leads to a low self-esteem. See, this is like a negative feedback loop that, when you feel that as if life is not in control and like life is just drifting along and you're not able to do anything of, you feel, excelling, then you will feel that, oh, I am not worth it. I'm not good enough. This will happen when you're not allowing yourself to excel. So consciously, you have to work on excelling. Now, here's the thing that you must note. 80% of the people in the world are unfortunately not good at anything at all, right? They can be easily replaced. You just look at any of the jobs. A job where you are not indispensable, that means you are dispensable. You can be easily replaced by someone else. This is a sad reality today. For example, those of people who are in, for example, engineers, if you are recruiting engineers, you will see that the quality of engineers is pathetic today, right? So these people can be replaced by anybody else. And why are they in the job? They are just being paid to just keep them from quitting. We are not trying to pay them any excellent, great salary. Just you don't want them to quit, and you'll tolerate them only as long as the going is good. Now, the moment a COVID or some situation comes, you want to resize or you want to, what do you call, downsize the company. These are the first people who will be thrown out, right? That's the unfortunate reality. So these people always live a life of insecurity. Always there'll be that worry, oh my God, what will happen? What will happen? Will I lose my job? The second thing that happens to them is that there is stagnation of income and they are always in debt. This is the sad reality of 80% of the people in the world. Now, there is a Nobel Prize winner for economics in 1992 from the University of Chicago, Gary Becker. He has made certain observations. He says that the bottom 80% of the people, their income increase is just 1% above inflation. That means you're just on the edge of poverty, edge of inflation. That is how most people's income is. And their buying power will double. For their buying power to double, it takes 72 years. That means lifetime is gone. By that time only you'll reach anywhere close to, just doubling your buying power. By contrast, the top 20% people, their income increase is 11% every year. Okay. And their buying power doubles almost every 5 to 6 years. Okay. So I want you to see that stark difference of what is the difference that it makes to excel rather than being mediocre. Okay, so when you commit to excellence, automatically it's the reverse that happens. If you are committed to excellence, your self-esteem will start going up. Why? For every small progress that you make, even step-by-step progresses that you make, you will feel happy about it. And this happiness will in turn increase your self-esteem. And when you actually achieve that excellence, that final, that ultimate, the best level that in your chosen field, you will feel absolutely fabulous and happy. That is the possibility that choosing to excel offers. Now, there are three keys to finding your area of excellence. So the invitation is find your area of excellence and focus on it. So first thing is attention, second is interest, and third is absorption. And remember that, this area of excellence right now, it may be something, but in the course of years, it may change to something else. Okay. And also remember that for getting into an area of excellence, we may need specific skills to be developed. Okay. All these things that we are talking about, start looking at it in the context of our industry of possibility, because even in this, it is possible to excel, it's possible to transform your life in a way that you cannot imagine. And for that, there are specific skills that we need to develop. So let's look at attention. Means we are using attention as a mechanism to find out what is it that we excel in. So attention, what are we looking at? What is it that holds or grasps your attention? See, remember that wherever your heart is, your attention will automatically follow. You don't have to kind of say that, oh my God, pay attention, pay attention. If your heart is there, anyway, your attention will be there. So what is it that holds or grasps your attention? So this is a way to identify who you are or why you are on this planet Earth. On this planet, what is it that you're destined to do? What is it that you're destined to become? This is the way to find out. So look at what is it that you like to read, what is it that you like to think, what do you talk about, what do you discuss with people? Look at all this. Okay. Now what they say is that what absorbs your attention between the age of 7 to 12, that means at a young age of 7 to 12, that is a good indication of what you should do as an adult, because this is based on some scientific research. Okay, interest. What is your area of interest? Okay, so again, as we said, whatever absorbed your attention between the age of 7 to 12 is something that, it is like, you look back at that time and you look at what are the things that you were doing where, suppose even if you had to go for lunch, you had to be dragged from there to go, Arey, come, it's time for lunch. You're refusing to leave it and come. What were such things that you did at that age? We may not remember it ourselves. We can ask our mothers. Our mothers will be able to tell us what it is that we were doing at that time. This is an indication of what is your area of interest. Okay. And this is also an indication of what you should do as an adult. The third is absorption. What absorbs you? Like if you must have noticed that there are certain things that you do and you get so completely absorbed, you just lose track of time, you lose track of what people are around you, etc. Now remember that when you're doing something that really absorbs you, it will not be hard work anymore. It will be just play. It will be fun, right? You will simply love to do whatever you're doing, and you will choose to get better and better in that area. And that is a natural tendency that you will have, right? So use these tools to find out what is your, I'm sorry, what is your area of excellence? Okay, now here is the third thing, very, very interesting. Okay, Acres of Diamonds. This is a book. Now, there is a certain story which is associated as a part of this book. So I will tell you that story. It's a very interesting, nice story. It's a book by this author named Russell Conwell. So this particular person was asked whether he would, facilitate raising funds for university for students who are not capable of affording their own education. So what he did was he designed a talk by this name, Acres of Diamonds. And this talk, he started, offering this talk at various places and raised funds for diverting it to this university. And now it's in the form of a book. So what is the story of Acres of Diamonds? There is an African farmer. Okay. And this African farmer, he was a successful farmer, and his farm was located on the path where these popular trade routes passed. That means there are these caravans which are passing by, which are major trade routes. And his farm is on that path. So as it happens, there are caravans that stop from time to time. So one of the caravans stops at his farm for a night, and the traders tell him of people, stories of people who went into Africa, deeper into Africa, and earned fabulous fortunes discovering diamond mines. That is, they said they went and they start searching and they found diamond mines and they became unbelievably wealthy, right? So, hearing these stories, this particular African farmer, he thought that, oh my God, I should also try my fortune by going out and exploring. So, he decides to sell his farm and goes into deep into Africa to find himself a fortune. And what happens? He sold his farm, got onto the caravans, went into the depth of Africa, and he spends many, many, many years looking for diamonds, but he does not find any. 10 to 12 years have gone by, and in the process, he goes bankrupt. And all his friends abandon him, and he's kind of depressed, and he's all alone. And finally, he goes down to the ocean and just drowns himself. This is the sad story about the farmer who had a farm and he sold it off and went off looking around for these diamonds. Now, what happens is that that farm was sold to somebody else, and a trader, again, that's the same caravan route, and the trader stops at the same farm now, which is owned by another farmer. And as he goes into the farmer's house, he just notices that on the mantelpiece there is a certain rock kept, and he asks him, "What is this rock?" So the farmer says, "Well, I was just taking my mules around to drink water, and I found this rock in the creek bed. It is inside my farm. There is a creek, and inside that, I found this rock, and I just noticed that this rock is kind of having a funny shine to it, so I brought it home." So then this trader says that, "Look, it's not just a rock; it's a diamond. Where did you find it?" So then the farmer takes the trader to the creek, and they start looking, and then they find one. Then they look around, they find another, and they are shocked to find that the farm is covered with, it's like an acres of diamonds. Now, the previous farmer, the original farm owner, had gone off looking for diamonds without realizing that diamonds come in a form that is, it is disguised as a very ugly looking, or an, you can't make out a diamond by just looking at it, because it is very, very, it's disguised. And they need to be cut and polished to look like a diamond. Similarly, the diamonds that you are looking for may be lying under your own feet. Please start looking for them. Most people miss out on opportunities because it comes disguised as hard work. Please don't make this mistake. This is the statement made by Henry Kaiser, who is considered the father of modern American shipbuilding. Okay. Most people miss out on opportunities. Why? Because it comes disguised as hard work. Right. So the diamonds that you're looking for may be just under your own feet. It could be the business that you're already doing. It could be your own knowledge that you have, the talents that you have. It could be the experiences that you've already gained in the past. It could be the company that you're associated with. It could be your friends. Well, it could just be this industry of possibility that is already there in your hands. You are already standing on a diamond, acres of diamonds. So, like the diamonds, these opportunities come disguised as hard work. So, you look at it. If you are able to identify a problem and use technology and find a solution for it, you look at Ola, Swiggy, Amazon. What did they do? They identified a problem, used technology, found a solution, and converted it into a huge, huge business. Right? What about Indus Viva? We also have something right now in today's context, in today's way of life, for the estimators for the next 50 years. The possibility is that this is the age of wellness. People are looking for wellness. And we have a formulation where they have taken a traditional Ayurvedic knowledge, converted it into a contemporary form, packaged it. You don't even have to hold stock. You can just do your business pan world. Isn't that a possibility? Just think of it. Do not expect to find a ready diamond and so that you can just run to the bank with it and encash it. No, you will not find it like that. I am inviting you to use this Indus Viva opportunity. Work yourself out for 3 to 5 years, and there is a potential. You can become a Black Diamond ambassador in this company. That potential is there. There are potentials for becoming diamonds right within this company. So remember this acres of diamond story. And tomorrow what people will say, oh, he was very lucky. But it's not luck. You identified the possibility, did hard work, and made it happen for yourself. Right. Next part is that the key number 4 is that your goals must be in balance with each other and also with your other needs. Okay. So there are 3 categories of goals that Brian Tracy recommends. One category of goals to set, he says, have 3 to 5 goals in each of these areas. Number 1 is personal and family goals, right? These are your why goals. Why are you doing what you're doing? What is it that motivates you? These are very, very personal. These are very family related. If you achieve these goals, these are the what is truly motivating you, right? The real reasons why you have any goal at all is these goals. So identify them. He who has a why to live can bear almost any how. That means whatever you may have to do, you'll be ready to do if you have a very strong why. And who has said this? It's pronounced Nietzsche. He's a German philosopher, a very, very renowned 17th century German philosopher, Nietzsche. Okay. So next level of goals is career and business goals. Have another 3 to 5 goals in this category. These are the what goals, what to do. And the next, very, very important, are the self-improvement goals. Another 3 to 5 here. These are the how goals. Now, how do you achieve the what to achieve the why? This is the sequence. That means you start with the how to achieve the what, and the what in turn will help you achieve the why. So have all these goals clear and start with your self-improvement goals. Get really good at key skills, because these self-improvement goals are all about skills, about developing a certain attitude. Get really good at that. Okay. It may just be that you're just one skill away from getting 3 times or 4 times or 10 times results. That's just that one skill. Identify it and build those skills. Right? Now, as far as sales goes, if you look at it from a very industry perspective, the key skill that we need is prospecting. And unfortunately, many of us tend to avoid prospecting. Why do you avoid prospecting? Just because we want to avoid rejection. Top salespeople, and this is not just about industry, any person who's in sales, they simply love prospecting. And they, in the process, their mental attitude is, how do I speed up rejections? How do I speed up getting more and more no's? So remember that the 80-20 rule applies. We have spoken about it in the past. It is called the Pareto principle. Remember that 80% of the time you will get no and 20% you will get yes. So therefore, mentally be ready for a very, very large number of no's, because every time you get a no, you're getting closer and closer to a yes, right? When you start loving the no's, remember that your sales will double. Just fall in love with getting more and more no's. It's perfectly okay, getting no's. The moment you make peace with them, the moment you start loving them, you will find that your entire business will fly. Okay, just imagine if you had no fear of rejection, how would you be? More and more no's means lots of yes also, because 80-20 rule will apply. Okay. And if you had really no fear of rejection, you will become a prospecting machine. Anywhere and everywhere, at every opportunity, you will be sharing this possibility, right? Imagine, suppose you became a prospecting machine, what can happen to your income? Just imagine. That's the power of getting, falling in love with getting no's. And this is a part of a self-improvement skill. That, remember, when somebody tells a no, they are not telling you a no. They are telling no to the possibility that you're offering. It's not about you, it's about the possibility. And remember that we are approaching this whole thing as a consultant. We are not trying to be a salesman, somehow just push this down their throat. No, we are trying to find their problem and help them solve their problem. That's what we are trying to do. So, the next part, the 5th step, is to define a major purpose. This is something very, very important. That one goal, out of all these goals, that one goal, which if achieved, will have the greatest positive impact on your life. What is that one goal? choose that focal point. It's also called a focal point, or it's also called a critical goal. And you can have one focal point or one critical goal in each of the areas. Remember, we said that there is a personal goal, there is a business goal, and there is a self-development goal. In each of these, you can have that one key thing, that one definite major purpose, right? And once you identify it, put your entire energy behind it. Just focus, put all your strength into that, right? Now, it's not that you don't have other goals. There are other minor goals, which will all be organized in an order of priority. But your focus is on getting this greatest positive impact. So in football, they have this thing called the ball carrier. So there is that one guy who's just, you know, what shall I say, dribbling with that ball and taking it forward. Just imagine what happens. The entire set of players are all moving with that ball. All the players move with that ball. Can you imagine what I'm saying? Wherever the ball is, that's where the players are. So can we have that football, that one ball carrier? Can that be your definite major purpose in life? Because that one thing, what it will do is that as you keep progressing on this one goal, what do you think will happen to all your goals? Automatically, without even you are realizing, your other goals will also start moving forward, whether you like it or you don't like it. That's the beauty of it. So if you can identify this definite major purpose and just focus on it and keep pushing it, put all your energy into it, you will find that everything else starts improving. So you must identify your area of excellence and you must select your definite major purpose. You cannot delegate this activity and you cannot avoid this activity, because it is completely up to you if you want to make your life meaningful. You want to reach the 20%, and remember that it may change over time, but that is okay. So now some very interesting things about goal setting. What is a smart goal setting? Your goal setting must be smart. What do we mean by smart? S for specific. Remember that your goal must be specific. Specific to the extent that if you tell a child, the child should be able to understand it. Is your goal specific enough that that even a child understands it? Second, a goal must be measurable. That means it should not be vague, like, I want a good amount of money. I want some money. No, it's not like that. Very specific. A child should be able to tell whether it is achieved or not, because it is so clearly measurable. So it must be measurable. Third, achievable. Don't set up see, before you are able to run, you first have to be able to walk. So don't set a goal which is so huge that it will almost be impossible to achieve, right? So set a goal that you are able to walk before you are able to run. Next, the goal must be realistic. So realistic and achievable are kind of connected. See, what happens if the goal is not realistic is that the mind will just block it out. We've spoken a lot about the subconscious mind. What happens is that if it is completely unrealistic, the mind will just shut it out and say, oh, anyway, it will not work. So there is this very interesting book which I would invite all of you to look at. It's called Atomic Habits. Even in terms of changing habits, if you are trying to say that, I want to lose weight, okay, and you're saying I want to lose, say, what? You want to lose 20 kilos, and you're starting with that 20 kilos. It doesn't work. You start looking at losing 1 kilo at a time. You start looking at taking small steps. You start looking at, or you say that, okay, I want to lose weight, so I have to start exercising. And what do you want to do? You say that I'm going to exercise 1 hour every day. The mind will just shut it out and you will find reasons why not to do it. Look at starting with small time frames, and slowly start increasing. So this Atomic Habits is about that, how these incremental changes can make a very big difference, right? So therefore, the make your goals realistic, and last, make it time bound. Don't leave it open ended, that okay, there is no time set. The mind operates when the mind operates when there is a time set. It is, I have seen this happen so many times, that if there is a time set, then the mind works in a completely different way. Or as compared to if there is no time, okay, you can do it in any time, then the mind works in a completely different way. So make sure that your goals are following the SMART. That is, they are specific, they are measurable, achievable, realistic, and time bound. I want to invite all of you, if you want to get a much deeper depth on understanding goals and setting goals and making it happen for yourself, Brian Tracy's book called Goals is something that I would invite all of you to pick up and read. Audio books are also available. That is, the audio version of the book is also available. So I would invite you to look at this. So that's the end of today's session on goal setting, the 5 keys to goal setting. Thank you very much.